Speaking of offensive games, just kidding. Arizona State versus Wyoming. All right, here we go.
Ugh.
Two teams that ranked in the bottom third of college football in total offense, but two teams that were pretty frisky on defense, particularly in the run games. And I think those are two angles, right? When we look at Wyoming teams in the past, right? Look, even Josh Allen had tough time throwing the ball in those wins in Laramie, right? You're looking at two teams that are probably going to be at depth to running the ball pretty effectively in their own right here. And I think the under is an interesting play, but the lines here, Arizona State -6.5. You got Jay Salville, his first year at Wyoming, and this was a hire that CD and I were a little bit critical of. But here's what I'll say. Wyoming is a very different program from most programs in college football, and I think continuity matters. Okay, I think it matters. And Craig Bull hand selected Jay Salville, so there's stuff to be said about that. Okay, you don't have Andrew Peasley at quarterback anymore, who doing stuff in the NFL right now in the preseason, from what I saw. But you lose Harrison Whaley as well at running back, who was your 1,000-yard stud rusher. So like
Tough injury.
tough injury. I think he's not out for the season, but he'll be back at some point. But I find it hard, and I don't hate this offensive line for Wyoming either, but I find it hard to find an angle where this Wyoming team puts up points. But also Arizona State's defense is nothing to, you know, sing about either, because they lose their best defensive player to another team in the Big 12. You just I don't think that defense is going to be great either, but they did play tough. They did play very, very tough. I thought that what's his name? Brian Ward, sorry, defense coordinator for Arizona State. I thought he did a fantastic job last year, and I anticipate, you know, that defense getting a little frisky again as well this year. So I know this is a game that not everyone's excited about, but I think this is a very interesting game for Arizona State. And I also think that we've seen the Mountain West look pretty decent, at least in the bottom half of the Mountain West. And I anticipate, I don't know about you, CD, I don't know about you, Drew, but I anticipate the Mountain West overtaking the American Conference this year in terms of being that second best G5 conference, because on this show, we believe that the Sun Belt is the best G5 conference. But look, I don't know. Hot take, guys. Hot takes.
I'll go first because I don't have a strong feel in this game, but I will say this is why you come to the Redshirt Sophomore podcast. You think we're just talking Miami, Florida. You think we're just talking A&M, Notre Dame. No, we're talking Wyoming, Arizona State, but we're talking Cam Scattaboo, one of my favorite players in the country, one of the most amazing do-it-all individuals I saw last year. I had a lot of fun watching some late nights. I missed out on him in fantasy this year. Very disappointed by that. I did have Jared Conyers last year. Player I was high on, but unfortunately he's gone now. I think Texas Tech. Y'all probably tell me that.
Yep.
Kenny Dillingham's doing the Lord's work, picking up the mess that Herm Edwards left behind at Arizona State. It's a tough team. They won 3 games last year, but I enjoyed every time I watched them. Every time I watched this team, I got some enjoyment out of it. Why did they add 5 D-line transfers? They added 5
Because
guys to this
they
D-line.
need it.
They needed it that bad?
They need that back. Their best defensive line transferred out of there, and then yeah, they needed it pretty bad. So, but that's also how you can tell that they needed it, is that the fact that they brought in 5 defensive line transfers. So
Yeah, I'm
that's a
familiar.
very good
I'm
point.
familiar. I'm familiar with that situation. Yeah. And look, a little bit of research. I saw that their linebacker depth should be pretty nice thanks to injuries last year. Always a blessing in disguise with injuries when you have a position group get hit. Sometimes if there's players coming back the next year, you get a little depth bump. So I know nothing about Wyoming. I'm just going to tell you that this defense at Wyoming, that was, that was the impressive aspect of their team. They had a strong defense. What are they bringing back on this defense?
Well, first of all, when I look at Wyoming, okay, like their defense, their numbers, okay, as always,
Huge.
are pretty skewed because they play in Laramie. So it looks like they have like a really good pass
Right.
defense a lot of times, okay? But there are like 20-mile-per-hour crosswinds in every single game that's played in Laramie. So what you do have to look though is their run defense in their front seven, which you bring back 2 guys like on that defensive line that have more snaps than probably anyone else on this football team. So I mean, you have to feel good about some of these positions on the defensive side of the ball. I don't feel great about their secondary, But traditionally, Wyoming doesn't need to have a good secondary because they're playing Laramie. But they're not playing in Laramie this game.
Right.
They're playing in Arizona State. So I think that is important. You're breaking in a new quarterback, Sam Leavitt. Is he that good? I don't know. He couldn't start. I know he's younger than Caden Hauser and what's his face over there at Michigan State last year as well.
Noah Kim.
Noah Kim. Oh God. His spring game last year was horrible. I remember that. I remember watching that nightmare, but
Taking the under.
yeah, taking the under in Michigan State was the easiest thing of my entire life. But yeah, I think the front seven, I think they feel pretty okay about, but I don't know. But it's a question, Drew, I think more of like, can Arizona State push the ball down the field? Like Elijah Badger, the number one receiver last year, transferred away over to Florida. Raleek Brown, okay, was a guy that they brought in from USC with a really hot running back, wide receiver, kind of mixed slot guy, whatever. He's hurt. I don't think he's going to play in week 1. So there are some interesting angles to this, which is why I make this. I think this is a very tough game to pick, which is why I wanted to put it on this list.
Yeah.
So,
I can't. Sorry, I
Scaring
couldn't
me
believe. I couldn't believe that it was 6.5. To be honest, and listen,
I believe it.
it's in Arizona State. That means a neutral site. You're looking at like 3.5, 4
Yeah.
point difference,
Yeah.
and that's where I just don't see it. I really don't see it. Listen, Wyoming, I have my thoughts right on Salvo, but I mean, you bring back Sabota, right? Or you bring in Sabota, right? Obviously, coming, he's got solid legs, and I think what they can do is exploit. You mentioned those 5 defensive linemen. How are those guys going to gel in week 1? In week 1, and how can they take advantage of that? You bring back a lot of your offensive linemen. You've got Nick Miles that's hoping to be a good blocker for you on that tight end room. Harrison, that killed me. That, to me, that's what set me on the edge here. It's like he's a difference maker for that team offensively, especially if you're struggling to push the ball down the field. What he can do, extending drives, keeping you ahead of the chains. That's real, real important for this Wyoming offense, especially, what they're going to be able to try to do establishing the run. I'm going to go Arizona State minus 6.5 to cover and to
Me
win.
too.
I might put this somewhere. We'll have to see. I do hate betting on a young guy. I don't know much about Sam Leavitt in terms of what he's done at the college level. Obviously, in practice, he beat out Jaden Rashad, took care of the football, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Arizona State, I want to see them impose their will. I want to see that offensive line take some steps. I want to see that running back room get utilized really, really. I want to see maybe Jeff Sims sighting here or there for that quarterback room.
No, you
I don't think
maybe third and short, where like he's not handing the football to anyone else. It's just in his hands.
Come on, if it's Arizona State and you're over until it's 4.5 and you're trying to make a bowl game this year, this is a game you have to win and look good, because you got Mississippi State coming in next week. And then you got on the road at Texas State, and then you start conference play where you're going to be maybe a dog potentially in all those football games. So we'll see. We'll see. But this is a must-win game, obviously, for Dillingham. You mentioned what he's doing, the Lord's work, as we put it, fantastically with Arizona State. But listen, there's optimism there, I think, long-term. But you have to start seeing results, I think, especially in these kinds of games. You can't go, 21-20 or whatever it was last year against Southern Utah. You can't.
Which, by the way,
happen this year.
Rain delay. I was up watching that game at like 4 a.m. That's how late that game went. That was crazy.
Sicko. But
awesome.
To me, you can't have that. I need you to establish your will. That's why I'm picking Arizona State to cover.
I'll keep it boring and go in agreement with y'all. And if A&M wins, I'm up late watching this game all night. I can't wait. I'm in the hotel bedroom again.
Yeah.
If not, I'm sleeping. But if we win, I'm up watching this one.
We're hitting Northgate, Drew. We're hitting Northgate.
Oh, I know. We're going Northgate first, and I'll catch second half in the hotel room.